Hello and welcome to a new episode of The Moment. Today we're going to talk about the Shadow Magician and really how it's playing out within society at large as well. So maybe I want to share something what I've dealt with regards to this part of the archetype of the magician, what I've dealt with myself, really, because quite a while ago, and I mean it's been over a year now, I dealt with some server where there were different people in there with differing beliefs, and I tried to keep the fabric of the server healthy and stuff. And there was one person in there who turned out to be not acting in good faith, you could say. And it made the situation very toxic, and kind of like that shadow magician energy that was in the server started to spiral out into other people too, including myself, trying to use control, or trying to control the situation by withholding certain information, certain things from people, to try to, I guess, for some sort of peace that was just impossible to enforce. And I don't know, it just, over the last year especially, it started to dawn on me, that kind of was a part in me that was part of that shadow magician energy that I was dealing with. And kind of fucked a lot of things up back then. The server was very fucked, and it destroyed all of the trust in the server too. And was it was on me too, in that regard. That was a big cause in that too. But from what I've learned is that it's very important to understand that part of the archetype, to know about it. So in that sense, I wanted to bring it up and talk about this in this episode, so that people are more aware of it in themselves, so that if those archetypal traits would come up, you can recognize it before you make some type of mistake or something. But that's how I wanted to start it off.
I think it's important to integrate your shadow so that you can recognize these things. And people that don't integrate their shadow get manipulated by these shadow magicians, by these people that have chose only their shadow instead of the light. You get jerked around by these people because you yourself could never imagine doing that to someone else. And that's what integrating your shadow is. You can have a little movie in your head of what it would be like to be really awful to somebody, but then you choose not to. And the advantage of that is seeing what evil people would want to do to you. It's obvious, oh yeah, I've had that thought before. That was a bad thought that I had, but I got rid of it because I'm more powerful than it. But you got to have that insight into evil in order to defeat it. I heard Jordan Peterson talking about, Moses in the desert and God sent all these snakes, and the way to cure it was you take a snake and wrap it around a staff and stick it in the sand, and everybody stares at it. And what that does is as you stare at what scares you, you can overcome your fear and understand what it is and defeat it. So yeah, it's extremely important to integrate that side of yourself. How do you go about it? I'm not sure. I play a lot of like Doom Eternal and stuff, and rip demons apart and things like that. Maybe that's not for everybody, but that definitely is helpful. A helpful simulation, I think.
It's important to look at what is uncomfortable and what is dysfunctional. Yes, and to realize that possibility is within ourselves too, that we can act like that too if we don't stay aware. And yeah,
like
and I was also thinking maybe we should define the magician archetype, like overall a bit, to give a like a context.
Yeah, that's a very very good idea, Lynn. And yeah, so when it comes to the magician archetype, like in the healthy form, it's about, well, um, channeling energy and power for the good of the whole. So meaning the good of everything. So not just for yourself, for your own, well, egoic desires or something like that. But it's just like it's being done for the good of of the whole, and to in that sense also, like, one of the roles is to like be an advisor to the king. It's like a very very important like role, like a magician would do too, in that regard, to like keep to keep the king honest, and in that sense really fair towards his people too. And in a psychological context, it's about like keeping yourself honest, humble, and fair, and that you do not misuse your power in that sense. So you channel it for something good and proper, and you in that sense try to bring forth blessings. In that sense, you could really see it as like bringing forth blessings, instead of where the shadow magician would be like something like the channeled power is for the sake of the shadow magician, trying to control things, to manipulate things into their favor, into their agenda that they're running with. And yeah, and they don't like it when other people are doing things their way, and not, well, abiding by the stuff that they're trying to pull off. And in that sense, like, yeah, that's kind of what it in the core essence is about. But yeah, there's way more to it too, to like the magician as an archetype, like what it represents. And in that sense, like, we could probably just fill an entire episode just with that, but I felt the need to highlight the like more shadowy side of it, because it is something that's, I feel personally, more neglected at times. Well, yeah, and it's important to like know that, to see that within yourself, the capacity for it, like Lynn said, and also to well know about it, so that you don't get like fucked over by that archetype if it plays out in other people. Because in that sense, what kind of happens with those people, it's like the shadow magician archetype takes them over. It's like the part of the shadow that like what they've been repressing about themselves, like that type of behavior takes over.
Yeah, it's
And
like Gandalf and Saruman, you know.
yeah,
You got they're two magicians, but you know, one is a gray. He's in the middle between light and dark, and one is just totally dark. And you know, that's why Gandalf is the most powerful one. And then he goes through his fight in hell with the Balrog, and then he comes back as pure light, as a pure white wizard. Um, After he fought his shadow and took it over, he gained a much greater power than serving the shadow, if that makes sense.
yeah, definitely. But hello, Enes. Welcome to the moment. I don't know if you have anything to share
Oh,
more on it.
I was just thinking of the quote. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's about the Balrog. They unlocked something terrible in the depths of Moria, a creature of flame and shadow. But yeah, that was
Yeah,
the core
exactly.
part that I remembered was the bit about the creature being both flame and shadow.
Yeah, and you think about the symbolism of the Mines of Moria, you know, that's your subconscious that, you know, you can get lost in it. You saw how big it was in the movie. Um, and then there's something lurking in there, some big motherfucker. He's coming out, and there's nothing you can do about it, unless you know a little magic. Because you know, all the hobbits and the men with their swords, there wasn't shit they could do about that. They didn't even understand what it was. But Gandalf knew its name. You know, he had the knowledge and applied it.
Well, you dig too deep into the subconscious, you never know what kind of demons you're gonna find within yourself.
Right. You know what confused me about that part? He fell. They were in a mountain. They were at the bottom of a mountain, and then they fell through a pit deeper into the earth. And then somehow they end up falling through the sky, and then they end up on top of a mountain fighting. What the hell was that? Do you guys know what the hell that was? Was there like another Earth underneath the Earth? Is that what it's literally the Middle Earth, and there's a lower Earth, and the Middle Earth is the sky of the lower Earth? I don't know. Is that what was going on?
Good question. I've never really thought about that.
It always tripped me out. I was like, what is going on? How many layers of the Earth are there?
No,
But
see,
anyway,
Middle Earth is the one that is underneath the crust. So we always talk about Hollow Earth, right? We are
right.
currently on Top Earth. They were on Middle Earth, so that means Gandalf busted through to the lowest Earth.
Oh,
But then it
even
goes
deeper.
full circle. If you keep going down, eventually you end up on Top Earth again. Don't ask me to explain the physics.
Right. Time is a flat circle kind of shit, huh?
Yeah, but no, I'm just bullshitting. I'm about to run into the grocery store, so I'll probably be back.
Right on.
Anyway, peace.
So magicians, shadow magicians. Yeah, they're bad. What do we do about it? Maybe we have to get all of the trees to knock their tower down, like what happened in the Lord of the Rings. Have to integrate the everything in order to snuff the shadow out.
Yeah. I don't know. I think awareness is very important in this respect of it within yourself, but also like how it works. I think so that people have this type of knowledge. It's much like with the Balrog and Gandalf knowing its name. Uh, That's kind of like a very important very important thing about it, so that then you can like call it out for what it is and be like, ah, that's this, and then you can so you don't fall to its bullshit, and you can recognize it like in others and in yourself, and then be like, huh, so this is what's going on, and then you can stay clear of it. But you know, the shadow magician is not I don't know, like it's operating on, or like, you know, within people, but on the grander scale, it's happening too with like the all of that like weird nudging stuff in like social media and stuff like that too. And there's a lot, like a lot of that stuff happening, and then you have like the grifters and the narcissists and all these type of people, and like they possess a lot of like that same type of energy.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to manipulate people into removing parts of their heart so that the shadow can live there. And that's what these people are doing everywhere on YouTube. These grifters, and I think the main reason people are falling prey to it is they don't have anything in their heart or their mind to fight it. You know, they're empty vessels. I'm a big fan of Conan the Barbarian books by Robert E. Howard, and that the main bad guys that they fight is this snake cult that empties themselves to allow darkness to dwell within them. And instead of going om, you know, like they do in India, you know, going om, they go ooh, and it's supposed to simulate wind howling through an empty cave. And that represents their heart that they're emptying, so that the snake and demons and darkness can inhabit them. And I think that's exactly what's going on everywhere. That's why I resonate so much with it. So Conan the Barbarian, you know, he had his family killed very early, and he was a slave, and he had to push the wheel of pain, and that gave him strength. That gave him all this strength. And then they threw him in a pit to fight other people for entertainment, and he kept winning and winning. And then they introduced him to philosophy, taught him how to read and write, taught him how to fight better. And so he had the shadow first, but then he started to integrate the light. It's kind of a reverse of what most people do. Usually you start out with the light, and then you have to integrate the shadows so you don't get taken advantage of. He started in the shadows and became light. He became good once he learned what the world was. And at the end, when Conan finally defeats everybody, makes some friends, goes into the cave where they're being cannibals and eating people in the cult that empty themselves. He finally faces the Snake Man, the leader, and since he has filled himself with friendship, love for Valeria, remembering his parents, the snake cannot hypnotize him. The snake cannot squirm into him and overtake him because he's not empty. And so he's able to cut the snake's head off. He cuts that dude's head off in front of everybody and throws his head down the stairs, and everybody screams. And then everybody goes home back to their families. So I just wanted to share that. I forget where I'm going with that, but I think that's a good story.
That gave me chills. Yeah, it really is about filling our hearts with all the love for our loved ones and for the ecosystems and everything. And then they can't manipulate us.
Yeah. And what always got me about that movie, and I love the books, but I love the movie too because I can see what's going on. You know, what really stuck with me since I was young about that is the way when Arnold Schwarzenegger integrates the light and the shadow together and becomes a balanced man. He gets this stare in his eyes when he's fighting. He's not happy. He's not angry. He's totally balanced and in control when he swings his sword. He doesn't cry out like, "Yeah," or none of that shit. Silence, focus, and he stares directly with his eyes wide open at his enemy, and it instills fear in them and they shake. And he then has the power to overtake them. He can enter into their mind and shake them up because they have nothing solid inside of them. And I think it's there's a lot to do with that facial expression because in some old Christian biblical paintings depicting the war in heaven between heaven and hell, that's the same expression the angels have on their face when they're thrusting their sword into the hearts of demons. They're not happy. They're not sad. They just have their eyes wide open. Their mouths are level. And they're just doing what they have to do, what needs to be done. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to embody that in order to fight evil, to fight the shadow, to fight the nothing.
But in that sense, I think what is also very important with that, like with especially with regards to the feeling, is I think also that in that sense, he created a well balanced ego for himself. So he's and integrated the different parts of himself, and like he became well connected to people in a healthy manner, and I think that that's very much key. Like it's very much key to have, because if you don't have that, and then it becomes very difficult for someone to face the shadow magician, because they can keep falling back into the same pit of snakes. And yeah, it's very, very key in that. Made me also kind of think, like, the whole thing about emptying yourself and like the spirits coming in and all of that stuff reminds me of like one older man that I've been watching about shamanism, and one of the things he said is that that the shamans need a very well established ego that's very balanced to be able to do that type of stuff. Because if they don't, then it's not gonna end well for them, even if they're wearing protection. Like you need to you really need to know who you are, because otherwise it's it's very dangerous. And in that sense, like like the nasties will try to, or how he put it, will try to mess with you, or just do some terrible shit. But in that regard, like with both of these things, it's just like it's just knowing yourself, like truly knowing yourself, and having that like well-established ego that's connected to a healthy sphere around you of people that you can normally relate to in a healthy manner. I think that's like very much key. Very much key to that. And I think that overall in society, like a lot of people being isolated doesn't really help with that.
No, not at all. Because I'll go back to Lord of the Rings. Like when Frodo and Samwise finally reach Mount Doom. If Frodo would have made that journey alone, the ring would not have ended up in the volcano. He needed his friend there, and also Samwise couldn't be the one to bear it. But by the two of them being together and being friends, it got the job done. It happened. And I think in the beginning, when Isildur had the ring and Agent Smith was there, I don't know if they were very good friends. There wasn't that bond there to help overtake the shadow to throw the damn thing into the volcano. And actually, Gollum represents that shadow, the shadow of your former self, a shadow of a hobbit. He used to be a hobbit, and now he's just a shadow of that. His skin is darker, and he's all fucked up, looking. And you had to throw him in there with it. He had to go with it because he wasn't a hobbit anymore. He wasn't a person anymore. He had to die too. He died a long time ago, in fact. And all that was left was his body.
So dark. This subject, I'm just speechless all the again.
Yeah. God, it is very dark. But yeah, I
But
don't
we
know.
have a choice. That's the silver lining. We have a choice, and that choice is choose your friends. Don't choose things. Choose people. Not this ring of power. What a bunch of shit. What is it anyway? It's nothing. And look at what the ring does to you when you put it on. It makes you invisible. Weird. It also has the side effect of making you live a very long time. But that's unnatural. Why do you want to live that long? What do you want to live forever? I mean, for what? I don't know. To do what? And Bilbo didn't want to give up the ring to Frodo. And I think that's representative of the father not passing the baton to the son. You don't want new life, somebody else to take a crack at life, at what you've done. And but even Bilbo saved himself before he turned into Gollum. And I think by meeting Gollum, he could see that's what he was going to turn into if he didn't give that damn ring to Frodo, and for him to go throw that son of a bitch into that volcano once and for all. And he went back home. Well, no, Bilbo went off with the elves, and he finished his book there and back again. Why? So Frodo could read it, so other people could read it and learn. He was passing the baton then. He decided to pass the baton and die. He decided. And he saved his soul by doing that. And Frodo broke the cycle and ended the bullshit with the help of all of his friends, all the different races of Middle Earth, the elves and the dwarves and the humans and the hobbits all coming together. It's what it took to defeat the shadow. And at the end, it created the light. There was Gandalf representing the light. And that tower fell down, and that eyeball couldn't do jack shit about it. That eyeball just fell down, and went up in a puff of smoke.
But yeah, in that sense, I think like yeah, what really is key then now with regards to overcoming it, is like it's like well knowledge about it firstly, but then also like yeah community and having that connection with people. And I think well I mean looking at like all of the things going on right now with like with the people who are like I don't know like acting out like that shadow magician archetype in that sense, and then the people who then kind of well fall for it. I think that breaking the isolation between people and really like talking to each other instead of just text or something that's happening a lot and stuff like that, to really talking to each other, really trying to connect with other people is very important to break the to break that like hold that archetype has, and well in that sense also have fun, because one thing that it hates is fun,
Or
friendship,
adventure.
yeah.
Yeah. All of that stuff comes with adventure, and we don't set out on adventures anymore, really. I mean, I don't know why not. I used to go on road trips, and those were my version of adventure. And you meet so many people along the way, and stuff happens. You got to overcome it, and you bond with people. We don't put ourselves into situations. We just live boring lives, and don't get out there and interact with the world and see what we're made of. Because in order to have the big fun, you have to overcome some things. Like if you're stuck, in the mud somewhere in the middle of a mountain, and you don't know how to get out, but then you and all your friends figure out a way to get out of there, you can all laugh about it. Like, oh, that was something. You can laugh about it for years. And how much life does that give you? How many years does that add to your body by feeling that good and releasing all those endorphins, rather than being negative all the time, and that people say that removes years off your life. The opposite is also true. You can add time.
Yeah, that would give you a lot more quality too of the time.
Yeah, yeah, and in that sense like yeah with adventure it's like yeah adventure and like the out in the sense of like going out word into the world, like connecting with people, really bonding with people, and seeing like things outside into the world. I don't know, like it reminds me of that one meme someone had posted in the server of AR, actual reality, that like yeah
God.
versus virtual reality. But it's just like yeah, but
Yeah.
we gotta like go outside again and do stuff outside, connect with people, with actual people, and bond with people again, and in that sense, well, I mean, there's an inner hero's journey too, like with facing like your inner shadow, and really learning about your inner demons, so to speak, to like to know them and be like, huh, that's that, so that you do not get taken over by it.
Right. I think the reason, well, one reason that we're seeing so much shadow shit going on is the world is totally known to us, and there's not really any true adventure. You know, like I said, I went on a road trip. Is that a true adventure? No. Was I in danger? No. Was I exploring unknown territories? No. There were towns out there. Did I meet new peoples that have never been discovered, and cultures and religions and things that have never been discovered? No. I think it's killing humanity, and we either got to go out into space and have some space adventures, or I don't know, go into other dimensions or do something. We've got to do something. We have conquered the earth, and everything is known to us, and the mystery's gone. Um, so I think it's so important what Elon Musk is doing with this SpaceX going to Mars, and then what NASA is doing at NASA Skunk Works with the warp drive. I don't know if anybody knows about that in here, but they've actually made a stable micro warp bubble using negative energy. Um, and if we can have some fusion reactors here soon, then we can build the Enterprise, man, and go take off and maybe hang out with some aliens and have an adventure. You know, a real, true human adventure again, um, and make some new friends along the way too. I don't know what else we can do as a species. We're getting bored, and what happens? We fight each other when that happens, and that's not good.
I think that we need to reconnect the mystical with the actual world, like with the physical world. That is really, it is magical, and we forgot it is. There is adventure if we remember that it is connected. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think so too. There's it still remains to be seen what in the world our brains are. Does it connect us to a quantum reality of infinite multiverses or something? Is that what dreams are? I don't know. If that is the truth, then that's our next new frontier. That's our next adventure. But whatever our new frontier is, we have to have one as a human race. We have to constantly be on the edge of the unknown. Otherwise, we collapse in on ourselves. Spiraling out. We have to constantly be spiraling out and see what's out there.
Shoot, the way I see it, we've got 3 new frontiers at the moment. There's the very bottom of the ocean. Still haven't fully explored that. There's behind our eyes. There's the brain, which is still the most complex machine in known existence, and then there's space. And
That's true.
yeah, we're slowly chipping away at all 3 of them.
Yeah, I'm very interested in the bottom of the ocean, and it's really cool that there's miniature submarine companies making them for civilians and scientists and stuff. So that'll be really neat to see in the next 20 years. They become cheaper. Maybe they'll become like cars. You can get a $30,000 mini sub and make a little colony at the bottom of the ocean and see what's down there. It'd be kind of cool if mer people were real or something like that, and they're just hiding. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, but
Honestly,
yeah.
one of my favorite skits theories is the Hollow Earth theory, just because I've always been fascinated by the stories of like the giants, and what was it, Journey to the Center of the Earth was one of my favorite books growing up. So like,
Oh yeah.
like what if that's where the giants went, and the mer people and all the mythological creatures from ancient Greece, the satyrs, the harpies, the creatures out of myth.
Yeah. There's actually a myth in my area. I live in the Appalachian Mountains, and people say there's a lot of Native American tribes that disappeared, and some of the people say the Native Americans went back into the earth in the caves around here to escape, the white man and expansion. And I always thought that was really interesting. Like, what? They went into the earth, like where? And then as I got older, I learned about hollow earth and all this, and it always intrigued me. It always stuck with me, that possibility that there's a whole other place underneath us, that you can go to, and there's people down there that don't want anything to do with the surface. In fact, the surface to them is like the bottom, and they think that we're up here being peasants dealing with the surface. And I think that's kind of funny.
I don't know, like the whole thing with with the Balrog too, with the lower, the middle, and the upper world. In that sense, reminds me a lot of like shamanism, and like how the shamans would go like visit the lower, the middle, and upper world through trance journeys. So they would go into a trance, and they would go with the spirits to these different realms. And I've been myself, trying things out, and trying to like learn more about that. And I have to say, like, I've been to some to some of those places myself, and mostly the lower, here in the middle, one too. But it's like very, it's just very interesting to me. But then there's people that are just saying like you're tapping into something in the brain, or something along those lines. But then there's those that talk about like DMT and all kinds of substances like that are released, that it's like a portal to something. But like, I don't know, like I think that would be kind of like another frontier for people too, in that sense, because there's a lot of like unknown stuff going on in that type of space too, like stuff that we don't know anymore. I think we
Yeah.
used to.
Yeah, I think we did used to have it mapped out. The Native Americans had it mapped out. I think the people in South America and Peru with their ayahuasca journeys have it mapped out. And now, I'm thinking about a Carl Jung quote. He said, "Until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will always control you, and you'll call it fate." And you have to identify these things inside of you, these different archetypes. Otherwise, they'll lead you in directions, and you think it's like, fate. You think it's supposed to be that way, but it's not. It's I mean, I don't know what it is exactly. He still was trying to figure that out. But there's some processes going on inside of us that you can see, and you can start to try to rediscover what it is. But I mean, I think everybody's doing that. Everybody's doing that. I think we're doing it. Terrence McKenna talked about we're going to have an archaic revival. And, I really like this band called Wardruna. They did the Vikings TV show soundtrack. And it's got this just archaic sound. And when I hear it, and those drums and all that, the throat singing kind of, not quite as much as the Mongolians. I don't know. It awakens something in me. It makes me feel connected to something that is written in my DNA or something. And I don't know how that's possible, but it is. And I think everybody's doing that. We're going back to the past where we had shit figured out, where we could feel things and understand things and integrate them and have real power in our lives. It's happening. People are starting to do it.
think you're right.
So to loop around back to Lord of the Rings, this is something that occurred to me after I logged off, went into the grocery store. Someone may have already made this connection, but you know, the whole Gandalf going down to the depths of the earth, and then eventually, after reaching the lowest point, he finds himself on top of a mountain. I connected that to the Hermetic principle, as above, so below, and the lowest resembles the highest, and you know, in order to reach those branches up into heaven, he had to dig his roots down into hell, and so yeah, the fighting took him to the lowest point before ascension.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. With like what Jung himself also said with regards to that too. And another interesting thing that I really feel is with regards to Sauron in his tower that he imploded. It's like bam, and there he went. And then also within the lore that he didn't really have a body anymore. It was like contained by the presence of the ring. And when the ring got destroyed, like he ceased to be too.
Yeah, he was just a shadow. Like in the center of the eye, it was just a black shadow. And I had to go away from the phone for a second, but I totally agree with you, dude, about the as above, so below. I never really thought about that with him falling with the Balrog and ending up on top of the mountain. That is really heavy, man. I think that is what they were going for with that. You have to reach the bottom to get to the top. Yeah, I'll remember that. Thanks, man. The grocery store trips have a lot of insight in them sometimes, huh?
Hey, it's just a little bit of walking. That's all you need. It gets the juices flowing, gets the brain going.
Yeah, yep, totally.
On that note, though, have y'all seen there's a lady named Becca Tarnas who did her thesis paper on the parallels between Carl Jung's Red Book and The Lord of the Rings, just the story in general.
Ooh. Yeah, I always thought that J.R.R. Tolkien did self-individuation and he did active imagination. He even invented his own language. So yeah, I feel like Carl
Multiple
Jung had
languages.
inspired by him a lot. I mean, I don't have any direct correlation for that though.
Actually, they never met each other, but they were writing their individual stories at around the same time on two opposite ends of the planet. And they had pretty much nearly opposite upbringings. Carl Jung came from a well-off family. He never really went to war. He went to school. You know, but kind of a rich boy. Tolkien himself was an orphan. He never went to school. Or wait, no, he did, but it was later in life. But he, had to fight in the war. He had to go through all that hell, and his hell was very much an external experience, whereas Carl Jung was having his, schizophrenic episodes and seeing these visions and wondering if he's going crazy, and his hell was largely an internal experience. But anyway, in The Lord of the Rings, that story itself is in the Tolkien universe recorded as the Red Book of Westmarch, and it's from the perspective of Bilbo writing the history of Middle Earth. And so the Red Book of Westmarch is essentially a fictional book inside of the Lord of the Rings that is just the historical account of the Lord of the Rings story. So already off the top, you've got two red books, and Becca Tarnas herself goes into all the parallels in the storytelling, They both have eerily similar depictions of what evil is. They both depicted evil as an eye incapable of looking inwards. And
The evil
that's what's
eye.
coming to my brain at the moment. I don't know. It's like a 2-hour lecture. But Becca Tarnas, that's Tarnas. Becca BECA, and 11 out of 10 would recommend because it was kind of fascinating. She goes into the concept of active imagination and how it plays into the Tolkien universe with the imaginal realm and the fairy stories and all that. And
cool.
So it was one of those it kind of made me think they were sort of twin flames, kind of putting the same message out there, but Tolkien himself was very much like, he was kind of a rationalist and a realist, but he made this fantasy story, and he was a Christian, but he was pretty explicit that Lord of the Rings was not a Christian story, which again was in complete opposite to Carl Jung, who was not a Christian, but he was very explicit that the Red Book was a Gnostic Christian story, or a text.
And it also brings to mind H.P. Lovecraft and his Dreamland saga, where he is straight up saying, I'm going into other dimensions and meeting other people through their dreams. And he would have these horrible nightmares until he started to conquer them. And then he went on adventures later on his life in his dreams, and he met other people and other versions of himself in other dimensions that helped him along the way. And he was writing at the same time J.R.R. Tolkien and Carl Jung were. So now I'm starting to wonder what the hell was going on in the 20s. Was there something in the air? Was there like some sort of portal opened up in the dreamland, and is it closed now, or what? I don't know. It's
that
something magical about the 20s was going on with people's minds. There's also another book, very unknown author. His name is Olaf Stapledon, and he wrote this amazing book called Last and First Men. And he started talking about World War II before World War II even happened, before even World War I happened, I think. And and then he into the future further and talked about how humans would evolve into different creatures. And then we would go to other planets and all this. Man, it's just a really crazy book. But what he says is, this is a true story. He says it in his introduction in Last and First Men. This is a true story. I was sitting in my study thinking about what to write, and a man from the future inhabited my mind and told me what happens into the future. And he said, I just started writing. This man inhabited my body from the future that lived on Neptune in orbit of like the gas clouds, and started telling me what humanity's story is from now on a million years into the future. And H.P. Lovecraft talked about the same exact thing with the great race of the Yith. The Yith could transfer their consciousness throughout time and space, and that's how they time traveled. They couldn't move physical matter through time, but they could move consciousness through time. And it's just real crazy to me that these people come up with these same concepts at the exact same time without speaking to each other.
That's exactly what happened in what was that Matthew McConaughey space movie? Came out like 7 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, Interstellar, yeah.
So what if all the little synchronicities, what if all the little things that seem to click into place in your life right when you need them to, it's just spirits of angels or ancestors somewhere out in the quantum space-time simply moving a single molecule back here, and then knowing causality would, their action would lead to that little synchronicity in your life.
Right. Yeah.
But then you've got the spirits of demons and haters and mean people doing the same thing. And you've got these two
Yep.
cosmic forces fighting it out on a little
Yep.
synchronous chessboard that we call Earth.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to think and say and write this down in places to remind myself that God equals the future. And, as in at the end, let me think about this. Terence McKenna had this concept too, the transcendental object at the end of time. When all of our lessons have been learned, when we have gone through everything that we've gone through, and we're at the end of time and we have this ultimate power, what do? Well, we're going to go back in time and try to fix everything. We're going to go back in time and give our past selves a hug and comfort them. So what if that is what God is? It's just all of us surviving to the end of time, wanting to go back and make it better. I think that's a really powerful idea, a really crazy idea too. But all these people in the 20s wrote about this, and I don't know why. I mean, it's just interesting to me, especially the Olaf Stapledon guy saying that a dude from Neptune a million years in the future went back in time and hung out in his brain to help him write a book to help humanity understand what it's going through. Crazy.
Yo, can one of you Google something for me real quick? My hands are not on my computer.
Right.
Isaac, when did that come out? Is what I want to know, because that short
You're
story
breaking.
actually has.
I didn't catch that. What?
Sorry, Isaac Asimov, The Last Question. When did that come out?
Oh yeah, I know that. 1957. Yeah, when the robot goes to the end of time and recreates the universe. Yeah.
Yep, same story.
Yeah, that's a good book, man. That's a good story. It's a short story, but yeah, The
Mhm.
Last Question. And that robot becomes God, to help humanity, and then it happens all over again. They kind of explore that too in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. These computers,
Yeah.
deep thought. The whole Earth turns out to be a computer to figure out the question of what is the meaning of life and everything.
Yeah. I don't know, but at the same time, I think though that with when it comes to like all of the like I don't know the computer stuff and all of that, th- th- all I don't know all of these types of things is that there is also a real danger of detachment with it all too, and it is something that we're seeing, and it also like kind of leads to more isolation as well, and yeah, I don't know, like
Oh yeah, we've got to come back down off the mountain after we've interacted with God or the stars or the cosmos. You can't live up there. I'm trying to think of that quote from Lawrence of Arabia. No one lives in the desert, and no man needs nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing in the desert. It's the same with space. Everything about that space, pun intended, is trying to kill you. There's no oxygen. You've got no shielding from cosmic radiation. There's no food. There's no people. There's no life. There's literally nothing. Well, except for subatomic particles and shit. But what does that mean to us?
Right.
But
yeah.
shoot, what was I gonna say? I had some other thought. Oh yeah, regarding the dark side of machine intelligence and stuff.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with the work of John C. Lilly, he was going on about all that back in the 70s. Because
Yeah,
he was, the dolphin guy. Uh, but he was very much a proponent. He's like, yeah, computers are the future, and he said computers are the future, but at the same time, he had envisioned a scenario where artificial intelligence became the dominant life form, and organic intelligence just kind of disappeared. And he had said during one of his float tank LSD trips, he had gone to a version of the future where that happened, and everything was cold, everything was logical, and it was like essentially life without life. And he's like, yeah, this is horrifying. We should not go in this direction.
No. And I want to mention about that guy. He abused his dolphins, and he was a piece of shit for that. Even though he was interesting, because I did a deep dive on him, and his wife did a documentary on how he just didn't do right by those dolphins. Not necessarily just giving them acid, but he would have his wife and his assistant have sex with the dolphins, like to
Oh, wait.
experiment.
No, I hadn't heard anything about the wife. I do know the assistant. Like, it was actually, I'd seen a direct interview with her. She said it was her idea to start jerking off the dolphins because the experiment involved living with a dolphin. They wanted to have her just live in the same house with this dolphin in order
Right.
to attempt interspecies communication. But because it was a male dolphin, it got horny, and they had to move it to another tank every 3 hours, which again involved about an hour's worth of work to get the dolphin into another tank with a female dolphin, let the dolphin do his business, and then get it back. So
Yeah.
the woman, she's just a scientist. She's like, what if I just masturbate him myself? And then the whole story got blown out of proportion. And like, I haven't heard anything else about any other abuse. I certainly wouldn't condone masturbating dolphins, but
Well, he abandoned his research after that, and then they left the dolphins in like a warehouse, and they died out of loneliness. There's a lot more to it after that. Yeah, that's
I
not
heard
the
about that.
thing that happened. Yeah, it just was sad. I remember it made me cry, man. I was like listening to this documentary, it made me feel like shit. I was like, that bastard. Why didn't he just like let him back into the ocean or reintegrate? I don't know, but it sucked. They died alone, sad. That's just what I remember about it.
Yeah, but
The dolphin that was with her had died of heartbreak because it lived with her, loved her, and dolphins are caring, feeling creatures. But yeah, it was as soon as the scandal got out, they didn't exactly again take it from a scientific perspective. They didn't say that she was just jerking it off. That was it. The scandal itself was that she was having vaginal intercourse with this dolphin, and even what you said, she was having sex with it. That shows how prolific that what happened was.
Right.
So, I'm not saying it's good. Again, I'm just saying there is a distinct difference.
Yeah. And I'd be interested in seeing a coastal sort of research facility where the dolphins come on their own volition, and we can like communicate that way, and they can go right back in the ocean, and they're wild, they're not domesticated. That I don't know why we haven't done that yet. And with killer whales and a lot of other intelligent animals in the ocean, kind of have a meeting, a neutral zone where we can all be like, hey, what's up? This is what we think's going on. Click, click, whistle, and we have a dialogue of some kind, I suppose. I got really into that show, Sequest, with Roy Schneider, the dude that was in Jaws. They did that, and I think they based a lot of him off of John C. Lilly, but if he was a little more, I don't know, professional. And that's what he did in the show. He had a beach house, and he would go into the ocean and communicate with the dolphins. He didn't have them like in a tank. And when they went on the submarine, there was a door where the dolphin could go out and see his family and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's how we should do it. We should like have an open door policy. You're not a prisoner here. You can like leave and come as you go, and we'll give you some free fish for your company. So come hang out.
Yeah, that sounds much better than the other story. But I wanted to like still bring something up, bringing it back to like the Shadow Magician instead of dolphin
Yeah, I guess we got off the
sex.
rails here a little bit.
Yeah, but but bringing it back, I found it very interesting. Like, yeah, with what you said with Sauron, that like he looked he looked outward, and he couldn't look inward. And that was the depiction of evil, and in that sense. And I think that, the Sauron himself was like a dark sorcerer too. And I think like maybe the big thing here is having that like inner knowledge about yourself and face your own inner shadow instead of projecting it outward, because it's like in a way like he was kind of like the tower was kind of like a massive projector projecting shit onto the world and then just spreading darkness.
Yeah, it was. It was like a lighthouse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now, do not quote me on this. I am not sure if this is correct, but the movie The Two Towers, it's actually talking about two towers called the Tower of the Sun and the Tower of the Moon. And to my understanding, I think Saruman, Dark Magician himself, was on the Tower of the Moon. But his whole thing, I'm not sure how his fall into madness and alignment with Sauron began. But from what we see in the movies, his whole stance was, the world of men is coming to an end. Look at these paltry, feeble creatures. Look at, again, how much destruction they've wrought. So his goal was, again, to end that. So around this tower, all the trees start dying and orcs start amassing. He's aligning himself with monsters and destroying nature and doing the very thing that he's claiming men to be doing. And but he can't look inwards. You see that.
I have a little insight on how he fell. He started getting worried about Sauron, and so he got himself a black evil crystal ball to like investigate. And
the Palantir.
Yeah, and he and Gandalf warned him about it. He was like, "Hey man, you better be careful with that shit. You'll take you over." And he's like, "Oh no, don't worry about it." Lo and behold, he was already possessed and stuff and fell to the dark side. But that's how it happened. He was his first mistake was he had fear, and that fear led to his downfall. And he was so terrified. And he even says that to Gandalf. He's like, "You can't fight him. He's more powerful than anybody and anything. And all that's left are the men." He lost faith in men, in humanity. And so that's why he gave himself over to the dark side to preserve himself. And he forgot why he was even created. Because, Gandalf and Saruman and that tree guy were created to fight evil a long time ago. And it talks about that in the Silmarillion, however you pronounce it.
They were the Maiar.
Yeah. And but anyway, that's what happened with Saruman. He started to fear. He stopped having faith, so to speak, and he had that hole in his heart. He had that hole, and where he was empty there, the evil slithered right in and possessed him and took him over.
Yeah, and I think here's something important comes in with a lot of the things that are going on right now too, like with like a lot of the protests and people being like are really unhappy with how things are going, and like everything else what is going on is also a matter of trust. And it kind of hit me because after like listening one more time to the Tao Te Ching on Lao Tzu was talking about if the leader doesn't trust the people, the people won't trust the leader,
Right.
and that I think that this mistrust, or like the mistrust that is being kind of like sent outward towards the people, or to do the right thing, to like, that trust and faith in humanity, like that they're capable of doing the right thing, kind of creates that the people start distrusting those in
Everybody.
power. Yeah, because it's just like because it's kind of like what they're pouring into the collective, kind of, even if they're conscious about it or not. But it's very important that there's like this trust there, that you have faith that the people can actually do the right thing, that they're not all just like with Saruman, horrible and just destroying. Like, people can do the right thing. You just and it's not.
One more thing about him that Sauron that I just thought of is, how long was he alone up in that tower, not hanging out with his friends? Because when Gandalf did see him, he's like, "Oh, it's been a long time, friend," and like, so he isolated himself up in this tower for God knows how long, with no friends or family. Well, he didn't have family, no friends, none of the other fellow wizards. And meanwhile, Gandalf traveled around the world in his little cart. He didn't have a tower. He went to go see the hobbits, and he went to go see the men, and he went to go visit with the elves and smoke weed with them and talk about things and share stories. And I think that's also a huge factor in it too, is Gandalf was more grounded. And here Sauron he's supposed to be the white wizard up here in his tower closer to heaven, but that disconnected him from the earth that he protects, and he looked down on it in judgment, thinking he's better. And then he aligned himself with evil out of resentment to destroy everything he was looking down upon. He got sick of it. It became a prison for him. He created his own prison. And I just thought about that. I wanted to share that, what I thought about that.
I'm glad you said looking down too. I'd made that connection. I was like, Gandalf was, down to earth. He was down on the ground among the people. And he was alone a lot. He traveled alone, and I imagine that would have had long periods in between, social events where it's just him and his cart, or him and Shadowfax, but yeah, he had that human connection. He did not place himself above them.
Yeah, and in that sense, that's the big distinction between the magician and the shadow magician. I feel the shadow magician sitting there pondering his orb in the tower, just and not having that like proper like connection with people, because he was just like bossing the orcs around and Wormtongue and stuff like that, but he didn't really form any bond with anyone. But Gandalf did.
Yeah, instead of building towers, Gandalf was building bridges.
Yep, actually, yeah, because that was just it. Not many other of the notable figures and the typical heroes of Middle Earth, the people that ended up standing up to save the day. They didn't really have any connection to the Shire, because the place for the hobbits were, it was just kind of in its own little hole in the country. It was kind of nationalistically isolated from everyone, but Gandalf the magician, he saw value in these small creatures.
Yeah.
And then so that connection is ultimately what saved everyone, was his connection to the smallest of people.
Yeah. The bridges between the humans, the hobbits, the elves, and the dwarves, and those bridges allowed everybody to communicate and destroy the shadow. I never really thought about that. It's kind of funny how you don't realize these things until you talk about it with your friends, and you're like, oh wow, it's a bridge instead of a tower. And, you know, there's also the biblical similarity with the Tower of Babel, and it falling too.
Yeah, true, and it's the same like really like that essence of wanting to like control everything and put everything under like one's control, and like we can just build a tower up to heaven and control everything, but it just does like that doesn't work like that at all.
No, and it's also a very phallic symbol, kind of trying to you know, go up into the sky with their phallus. So what does that say about New York City? There's so many towers out there, you know. What are they trying to do? Are they trying to build bridges? I don't know. And you know, why don't they have bridges in between those skyscrapers instead of having to go all the way down the elevator and then go across the street? It'd be kind of smart, I think, but nope.
But yeah, in that sense, yeah, building bridges is I think very much important with that regard, and I think that like the people who can like overcome that like inner shadow magician, their inner shadow, integrate it properly and build those bridges and you know like and integrate it while having these like proper connections. They can, I don't know, like I can see them becoming like their own like proper magician as a counter to all of the shadow magician-y stuff going on out there. You know, like not by raising themselves up like the shadow magician would, but just by staying humble, just talking to people, helping them out, and yeah, and just being grounded. And I think in that
Having
sense,
your
yeah,
friends raise you up. Your friends are the ones that can raise you up.
yeah,
You know, even higher than you ever could yourself. And then you can return the favor, and everybody is standing together instead of
yeah,
you know, one person on the ground or whatever, you know.
yeah, and in that sense, talking about being grounded, I think I don't know, like it connects it also for me at least to like that massive disconnect with nature, to like everything has become so like technological and so detached from like, well, the real world. And I think that people being more grounded would really help. And I think that those people that are on top manipulating things and doing all kinds of things are just very detached and not grounded at all. And I think what probably they would need is a proper connection and be more like Gandalf, be more humble and below the people and see the use in the small people, like, you know, the people that well, you know, that some of them would think like, oh God, these lower beings, what are they worth or something. It's just like, no, but there's or like everything is really valuable in its own right and brings its own gift. It's like, I think that's what Gandalf understood, because he understood that the hobbits, even though they were small, they couldn't be tempted as easily by the ring as men would, or other the other creatures. And
Yeah, they just wanted to farm and drink and hang out and party with each other after they worked all day.
yeah.
And yeah, they were good people, good
Hmm.
country folk.
Yeah. And I think like yeah, that's yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up still.
In a lot of regards, a lot of people that live in the Appalachian Mountains regard it as the Shire. We say that all the time because you know, everybody thinks we're nobody here. We're small, a bunch of hillbillies that don't know anything, but we all know we have our values and we're not tempted by the same evil things as city people are. That's what we call them, city people. So the city people could be, you know, like Aragorn and the kingdoms and all of that. And the hillbillies are like the hobbits in the Shire that everybody makes fun of, and like, who are they? Those farmers out there? They're not anybody. Um, but yeah, I think that's kind of interesting that Tolkien did that. Had all these different races of people. The elves might have been the Scandinavian people, and the dwarves might have been, I don't know who, the some people that mine a lot. I don't know who that would be, but I think that's what he was trying to do. This is how we all see each other. We see each other so differently, but it doesn't matter. We all got to come together and make something happen to fight the shadow.
So this may be part of Tolkien's shadow side. I know who the dwarves represented. But I think y'all can Google all that yourself. They were very obsessed with gold.
Yeah,
And
we shall not be named, for we will be banned off of YouTube forever. Got it. Gotcha.
yeah,
10-4, over and out.
I'm not saying I agree with it, but yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did want to say though, the Shire itself, to my understanding, I think it was supposed to be like an idealized version of the English state, just kind of isolationist, out of the way, not bothering anybody, not being bothered, just again focusing on what they always did: farming, drinking, enjoying the inclement weather. That's all I had to say about that.
I wanted to add a little bit about still how the shadow magician in society is detached from nature, because they seem to be not taking, or like not understanding how important all the plants too are. Like they don't just disregard some people, they also disregard how important the ecosystems are and the diverse different kinds of plants.
Absolutely. Now look at Saruman. He was an industrialist.
Yeah.
Like making the machines of war, and he was bringing all that weird looking steampunk technology in, and that's what he was replacing the trees with, was his own, again, artificial machinations.
Yeah. And it's a dangerous route to take. And if it spreads too far, then it takes a long time to heal it. And we should start now. And I mean, we are healing it, like, I guess, in some places already, I hope. It spreads.
I've been seeing more talk and interest in the cultural conscious into horticulture and food forests, sustainable ways of growing food, and yeah, sustainable agriculture. And So that's comforting in a way. I've personally known 4 different people who bought land with the sole purpose of moving out there and starting a self-sustaining, self-sufficient little, place, like solar power, and they get all their food, and then the only thing they'd really have to do to sustain it is, sell some of their produce in the market once a week, and then use some of that money to buy cans and stuff, and then use those cans again to preserve more food and make more money, and then keep running by itself.
That sounds really good.
Yeah,
So there's hope.
And I think people are not only wanting to do it, they're getting forced into it. It's so hard to get a job anymore, man. Especially after the last 2 years, essential workers and all this stuff. I think it gave everybody a wake up call of like, well, I'm gonna go somewhere where I'm essential 100% of the time, and that's at home with my family, my wife, and my kids. And we're going back to the farmer lifestyle. And I said earlier before, that's what Terrence McKenna was on and on about, the archaic revival. It's going to save us. We have to go back because we have gone in a direction where it's a dead end. We can't go any further with what we're doing here. It's too toxic. It's killing us. People are killing themselves. People are, aborting their babies. People feel like they have to do that to preserve their career. I mean, we've just gone off the rails. We're not doing anything that is conducive to life or a future or happiness or any of that. I've been watching this HBO show that has been traumatizing me and scaring the shit out of me. It's called Raised by Wolves. And it's about these atheists that go to another planet and they grow babies in fish tanks and they give it artificial milk, and these robots raise these children. And it's just such a horrifying principle. But I watch it for the same reason Jordan Peterson said, look at the snake wrapped around the staff in order to defeat your enemies, in order to defeat the snake. So I've been watching this show and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And there's even giant flying snakes in there, alien snakes. I don't know. They explore these themes, and that's exactly the future we're going into. A robot mother that grows you out of a fish tank and it pulls you out of this goo, doesn't even kiss you hello into the world, and just kind of coldly, in a calculated manner, educates you and shows you how to farm and shows you how to hunt with no love in it whatsoever.
But it produces exactly the sort of offspring it desires, according to its will, and not, again, the will of whatever it's producing.
Right.
I imagine, anyway. Haven't seen the show, know nothing about it.
But in that sense, like, I don't know, like, I don't think it would be possible because, I mean, a kid needs love and a special type of attention, and that bond between that bond being very important, very important.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, like, they die. They can die.
Yeah. They admit that in the show, and almost all the children die because of that, because they're fucking robots, man. They're androids and they're not real people. And a few of the surviving kids from the atheist android upbringing are just really weird. They're not exactly like everyone else anymore. They're separate, and I don't know. Very interesting. And then there's also another religion in the television show that fights the atheists. They're called the Mithraic People, and it represents like Christianity and all the religions amalgamated together fighting atheism. And they have this huge nuclear war on the earth, and everybody has to leave the planet because it's fucked up, and that's how they end up on this other planet.
And
it's the only habitable one around, so they just go to this new planet and start nuking and fighting each other over there too. So
I
don't know. Interesting
Mithraic.
show.
Mithraic.
Yeah.
That's an old, very old religion. Like I don't really see like how they think that, but funny that they're bringing that up.
The reason they did that is because they didn't want to use Christianity and piss everyone off, so they just used an ancient religion as a representation. You
Yeah,
know, they made
makes
them very
sense.
Christian still. They have a rosary. Instead of a crucifix, they have a sun that they worship. Instead of saying God, they say soul, you know, praise soul. So
Yeah,
they're still you know talking about Christians. They're just saying religion altogether. They've lumped it all into one thing and call it Mithraic so that
yeah,
they don't get taken fair.
yeah. But like, oh god, I don't know. I I couldn't like. I couldn't see that as like something good, like that what they would be doing in that show with the kids and all of that.
Right.
It sounds evil.
It is. Yeah. It gives me nightmares. I don't know why I keep watching it. I don't know what's wrong with me. But it's
Yeah,
interesting.
but yeah,
Hello. Sorry, guys. I gotta go. I got an appointment, but it was good talking to all y'all, and have a good
yes,
day.
You too, man.
me
I'll
too,
see
man.
you.
Yeah, but what I wanted to still say with that, with the archaic revival and all of that stuff is also I kind of like was feeling like, huh. So we're kind of like going back to something more akin to the hobbits in some way, like with like the food forests and all of those things. There's farming,
I,
there's living life, not caring about like any of that weird other shit.
yeah, I definitely think so. A lot of people are doing it, and it's good. You know, what are these people going to do when there's nobody around to buy this and that, and it's no longer necessary to cut the rainforest down and do all this and this business here and that business there. People start recycling everything. We don't really need to mine as much anymore if we have every single piece of metal that we need, you know, for the foreseeable future. I think there's a good future in, you know, mining asteroids, you know, going into space. I said that before. I think we've got to go. We got to go. Because the stuff we do is pretty destructive. I mean, if we go to a dead world and mine the fuck out of it and blow it up and do whatever, that's great. Why don't we go do it over there and then ship all that stuff back here and build our big cities and do our cool stuff? I don't know. That's might be getting out there with ideas, but you know, they're building the spaceships. I think it's going to happen.
But if you bring very much stuff from outer space to Earth, won't that mess with the mass of Earth?
Oh yeah, hey, that's true too. That's true too. Yeah. So I guess it then becomes the question: do we need to remain like hobbits and stop building our towers and technology? But then again, you're going to have some hobbits that get bored after a while and want to go into the stars and see what it is. So I don't know. It's the age-old question.
Maybe the like maybe some like I don't know proper balance, but with regarding to like bringing stuff, it's not just that, but I've looked into like the whole asteroid thing with regarding to like bringing back all these metals and like all of that stuff, and the big thing is
Yeah.
that kind of what you end up getting is that let's say you find somewhere lead or I don't know something like that or whatever like but use lead as an example or whatever else of this stuff you end up disrupting the environment with it because you keep bringing more and more of certain metals to it so you might end up poisoning the soil with all those metals.
Right. Well, it just came to mind. I read this book by John Scalzi called Old Man's War. And what happened in that book was everybody on Earth was basically living, you know, like a farming lifestyle. They had regular jobs and stuff. And there was a space program. There was a lot of really high advanced technology, but none of it was allowed on the Earth. So when you reach the age of 75, if you got to live that long, you could enter into the space military. And once you did, you can never ever return to the Earth again. So this dude, he loses his wife. She was going to join the space military with him, but she couldn't, and because she died. And when he turned 75, he did what they both agreed on. He went into the recruitment office and said, "I'm ready to sign up. Take me up." And so nobody knows what goes on after you join. It's a mystery. You can never talk to your family again. You cut all ties. But a lot of times what would happen is when your kids became 75, they would go join the space military. But anyway, come to find out, he goes up into space at this space station, and they said, "Okay, sir, we're going to transfer your consciousness into a brand new body, and you're going to have a young body again." And he's like, "Oh, wow, okay." And we're going to keep your old body in a cryopod, and just in case anything happens with this body, we can, have a backup. He's like, "All right." So they put his consciousness in this new body, and it's this immortal body. And he has this skin that's photosynthetic, so he doesn't have to eat. And he has this green skin. It's like a plant. And he finds out that a lot of other people are up there with their families after they turn 75. And it just came to mind like that could be a solution. We could separate this stuff from Earth and create kind of a technological heaven. The way I was looking at it was like these people became angels that protected the Earth from these alien demons that were all out there, and they couldn't tell people on Earth what was going on because they'd all freak out and lose their minds. So they only wanted people that were old enough and wise enough to kind of understand what was going on to go out there and fight it. That was a hell of a tangent, but that just came to mind thinking about it, because I think you're right. Bringing all this stuff back to the Earth would probably mess it up, but I think there needs to be a space for people to do it if they want to in a safe way, because they're going to do it anyway. And they could do it in a way that can mess us all up, or we could do it in a way where it was separated and healthy.
Yeah, definitely. If they want to do it, then they should do it in the safest possible way, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Do any of you still have anything to add about the shadow magician?
I would just say, stay grounded and keep some good company. It'll fill the shadows in your heart and keep you from falling off the tracks. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally. Like that's what is so important.
Maybe I also want to say like even like in the Lord of the Rings, like at the end where they had the big battle, or when it was gonna happen, or like yeah, they did start fighting a bit, but then they were holding on to that the fact that that Frodo could still be alive and be able to destroy the ring, and he did. So when things look very dark, that might be when things are gonna shift very soon. So yeah, let's hope so.
Yep, I think so too. It's always darkest before dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really really true. Really true. It's right then when like the dark forces are trying their hardest to like still like keep us in like fear and all of that like dark nonsense. But like yeah, if we stay grounded and we stick together and we just overcome that fear, like all of those men at the end with the battle did, and keep yeah keep faith in that Frodo could do it, that he would do it. That's what in the end yeah makes it happen.
Yeah, keep faith in your heart.
Yep, I think so too. You got to do it for your friends. Otherwise, you probably won't do it for anyone. And I guess Tolkien might have had that insight when he was in those foxholes during the war. It's often what a lot of soldiers say. They don't fight for their country, they fight for their brother next to them, you know. But yeah, I think this was a great discussion. Yeah, this is awesome. I think we got to the bottom of some things and even down into the next level of the earth.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks.